What's going on, guys? Mirai here, back in another Genshin Impact video, and today I have a relatively short video for you guys. So, if you guys didn't know, Rosaria just dropped a few hours ago, and we did an entire live stream, about 3 to 4 hours, trying to find out what works for Rosaria and what doesn't. And today, for this video, I am going to be condensing all of that information into this video so that you guys don't have to watch the entire 3 to 4 hours of that. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So the first build that we have for Rosaria is going to be a physical DPS build. Now, if you guys have played her trial, you would be familiar with this build. And first, let's go through the potential good weapons that we have for this build. So the first one is obviously going to be Dragonspine Spear. That is going to be literally the best weapon for this physical build. And what it does is it gives you a lot of physical damage bonus on this spear, and it just allows her to do a lot more damage. Now, alternatively, if you don't have this Dragonspine Spear or you have not finished the Dragonspine quest yet, you can also use the other craftable spear, which is Crescent Pike, and it will be really good on her as well. Next, we go to the artifacts. So for the artifacts, this is really simple and straightforward. It's 4-piece Bloodstained Chivalry, and basically what this does, on top of the 2-piece physical damage bonus of 25%, it also gives you the 4-piece, which after defeating an opponent, it increases charged attack damage by 50% and reduces its stamina cost to 0 for 10 seconds. So this build is really solid for dealing with multiple monsters that you can, continuously kill. Like, for example, multiple Hilichos, those will not be a problem for Rosaria. Now, alternatively, if you don't like the 4-piece set effect or it doesn't suit your playstyle, you could go for 2-piece Bloodstain, and then the other 2-piece you could go for Gladiator. That will give you a solid 18% attack increase, and that will not only affect your physical damage, but also your cryo damage coming from your skills as well. Now, moving on to the physical DPS Rosaria build, for the team composition, you want to have Superconduct. That is the staple of all physical damage builds, and for this, I have chosen Fischl because Fischl has a really nice elemental skill that will continuously attack opponents with electro damage, which will allow Rosaria to in turn chain the Superconduct, and you can do it while Fischl is not on the field. So it provides Rosaria with a lot of room to proc that Superconduct, and what Superconduct do is it will reduce the physical resistance of the opponents. Next, we have Noelle, and she is just a solid character. She provides shield for Rosaria, and of course that shield will also decrease the opponent's physical resistance by another 20%. Lastly, we have a healer, and for this I have chosen Barbara because Barbara, not only is she able to provide Rosaria with the heals, but also if you have the Thrilling Tales of Dragonslayer, which is a 3-star catalyst, you will be able to increase Rosaria's attack by a further 40%. Lastly, of course, Barbara and Rosaria, it's a cryo and a hydro comp, so you will be able to freeze the opponent as well. Alright, next we are going to be talking a little bit more about something that is a little bit more unorthodox, and that is going to be a cryo DPS build. So if you guys didn't know, on top of being a good physical DPS, she actually also makes for a pretty decent cryo DPS as well. And also, even you can build her as a support if you so choose to, which we will talk about a little bit later. However, for this build, you want to have Deathmatch as your weapon, or if you don't have Deathmatch, you can also use the Royal Spear. Next, we move on to her artifacts, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So for me, I do prefer the Blizzard Strayer set, the 4-piece set, because number one, the 2-piece gives you cryo damage bonus at a solid 15%. That is really nice. And then for the 4-piece, it gives you crit rate, and when an opponent is affected by cryo, it gives you 20% crit rate. And if the opponent is frozen, it gives you an additional 20% crit rate, and that is just extremely solid. And to me, this is something that I highly value because crit rate is not something that you can get just on anything, right? Substats are, just really hard to roll, and crit rate is extremely valuable. So to me, if you don't have enough crit rate, this is definitely something that you should consider. Otherwise, if you don't need the crit rate, or if you already have Deathmatch, then feel free to change this up. You could use 2-piece Blizzard and 2-piece Gladiator, or alternatively, you can use 2-piece Blizzard and 2-piece Noblesse to increase the damage of the Elemental Burst. So moving on to the team composition for this Hydro DPS build, you definitely want Chongyun. He is the key player in this team. Without Chongyun, your build literally cannot function. So what he does is, on his E, he actually gives Rosaria the ability to deal cryo damage with her normal attacks within the AoE of his E. And that is just extremely important. If you don't have Chongyun, just don't consider this build at all. It will not work. Next, we have Xingqiu, and he is here for the Elemental Burst. And what his Elemental Burst does is that it gives you offline Hydro damage, which means you will be able to freeze opponents with Rosaria. And being able to freeze the opponents will activate your 4-piece Blizzard Strayer, so you will be able to get that additional 20% crit rate. Lastly, we have Bennett, and Bennett is kind of like the healer, although not the best healer, but he does do the job, and also he boosts the damage of Rosaria with his Elemental Burst, and lastly, he will be able to allow Rosaria to deal melt damage on top of that. So that is basically it for the Cryo DPS build. Now, lastly, we get to the support build. Now, this is something that is extremely out there, and it's not really something that many people would consider, but she is going to be able to be a decent sub-DPS slash support for your team as well. And what you have to do is you have the Blizzard Strayer 4-piece, which will increase the crit rate, and then you feel free to put some energy recharge into her artifacts if you so prefer. And what it basically allows you to do is just to spam the Q. And what you have with the Q is to transfer the crit rate of Rosaria, or at least 15% of Rosaria's crit rate will be applied to your entire party. So this is really solid if you pair her up with Tartaglia or Ganyu, or somebody that just scales very well with crit rate. And for the weapon of choice, I have picked the Deathmatch. So it is very similar to the Cryo DPS build. But for this build, Deathmatch is pretty much a must. And you want to stack as much crit rate as you can on her. So like I said, this is something that not many people would consider. And this is something that I personally found to be useful for me, because I have a lot of DPS characters already. And I don't really need Rosaria to do DPS for me. And this build, not only does she provide support, but she is able to deal a fair amount of damage as well. So this is something that you guys might want to consider if you guys are into the whole crit rate transfer thing. And yeah, that's about it for this Rosaria build. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video for all the potential viable builds that you might want to try on Rosaria. I definitely have found a lot of fun during the stream, and if you guys have any other builds that you have found to be viable, do feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Yeah, so that pretty much sums up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.